Donald Trump just got fact-checked to his face by woman in Iowa crowd, and sources suggest this instant karma moment reveals how his lies are catching up with him in real time. We're not talking about media correcting him after the fact. We're talking about reports that Trump claimed he lowered gas prices to $1.85 in Iowa, and woman shouted, "No, you didn't. Gas is $2.63. Stop lying. It was $2.69 at station right outside venue when state average is $2.57. That gas buddy found just 4 stations out of 2,036 in entire state selling under $2. And what might make this significant is it happened at event Trump staged to promote affordability message. When you get called out for lying about gas prices at your own affordability event by person who just filled their tank, that's not minor embarrassment. That could be turning point where Trump's habitual dishonesty becomes liability he can't escape even in friendly settings. But before we break down how Trump's lies about economy are being exposed in real time and why Federal Reserve Chairman just contradicted his jobs claims, real quick, you cannot trust mainstream media to connect Trump getting fact-checked to his face with broader pattern of economic failures his regime is creating.
The unemployment rate was 4.4% in December and has changed little in recent months. Job gains have remained low. Total non-farm payrolls declined at an average pace of 22,000 per month over the last 3 months, excluding government employment.
That's why we built John Brown's show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want analysis that actually explains how instant karma is catching Trump as his economic lies collapse under scrutiny, hit that subscribe button right now. All right, let's get into what happened in Iowa and why sources suggest Trump's fact-checking moment represents broader crisis of credibility. Because think about context. Trump staged this diner event specifically to promote affordability message. He's trying to convince Americans his policies are lowering prices, and he makes claim about gas being $1.85. Woman who actually lives there and buys gas immediately calls him out. She knows exact price at station outside venue. She tells him stop lying. That's devastating because it exposes that Trump lies even when audience has direct knowledge contradicting his claims, and it's not just gas prices. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell released data showing job gains have remained low. Non-farm payrolls declining at average pace of 22,000 per month over last 3 months. That contradicts Trump's claims about economic success. When you're getting fact-checked by crowd members and Fed chairmen simultaneously, sources suggest your credibility crisis might be unfixable.
Would you like to see the dollar's value decline more? Would that be helpful?
No, I'd want it to be just seek its own level, which is the fair thing to do. You could have it, I could have it go up or go down like a yo-yo. I'll give you an example. Unemployment. I could create the greatest unemployment numbers or employment numbers ever. All I have to do is hire 3 million people and put them into the federal government, and you have 10 people, for one job, right?
That's right.
Let's start with specific gas price claim because sources suggest it reveals Trump's fundamental dishonesty about economy. Reports indicate Trump told Iowa crowd he lowered gas to $1.95 or $1.85. Think about how absurd that claim is. State average in Iowa is $2.57. Only 4 stations out of over 2,000 are selling under $2. Yet Trump claims he achieved prices 30 to 40% lower than reality. That's not rounding error or mistake. That might be deliberate fabrication, hoping nobody challenges him. But woman in crowd knew better. She'd just been to gas station. She knew exact price at location right outside venue. Sources suggest her willingness to shout correction at Trump reveals changing dynamic where his supporters might be less willing to accept obvious lies. When you claim gas costs $1.85 and everyone in room knows it's $2.63, you're insulting their intelligence. Reports indicate that kind of blatant dishonesty could alienate even people predisposed to support Trump if they recognize he thinks they're stupid enough to believe anything. And there's broader economic context. Oil prices have spiked from $58 per barrel in December to $70 now. That's over 20% increase driven by Trump's threats against Iran. When you rattle sabers at major oil producer, traders panic and prices rise. Sources suggest Trump's own foreign policy is making gas more expensive. Then he lies about prices being lower. That combination of causing problem while lying about solution might be politically unsustainable as people notice disconnect between his claims and their experiences. Think about what this moment represents. Trump built entire political brand on claim he'll lower costs and make America affordable. But when he tries promoting that message, he gets fact-checked by audience member who knows he's lying. Reports indicate that's nightmare scenario for politician whose appeal depends on perception of authenticity. If supporters start recognizing he lies constantly about easily verifiable facts, his credibility on everything else collapses too. But Trump's not just getting fact-checked by Iowa voters. Sources suggest Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell just released data directly contradicting Trump's economic success claims. Powell stated unemployment rate was 4.4% in December, job gains have remained low, total non-farm payrolls declined at average pace of 22,000 per month over last 3 months, excluding government employment. Think about what those numbers mean. Private sector is shedding jobs. Only government hiring prevents unemployment from rising faster. That's opposite of strong economy Trump claims to have created. And Powell's timing matters. He's releasing these numbers as Trump tries promoting affordability message. Reports indicate Fed chairman might be deliberately countering Trump's false narrative about economic conditions. When most respected economic authority in country says job market is weakening, while president claims unprecedented success, voters have to choose who to believe. Sources suggest most will trust Fed chairman who has reputation for accuracy over president who just got caught lying about gas prices. There's also consumer confidence data. Reports indicate confidence has crashed to worst levels since 2012, lower than during COVID lockdowns. Think about that comparison. During pandemic, when people wore masks, scared in their homes, they had more confidence in economic future than they do now under Trump. That's not typical policy disagreement about best approach. That might be recognition that Trump's chaos is actively damaging economic stability in ways that terrify consumers. Share this video with everyone you know because sources suggest there's also tariff impact. 96% of tariffs are being passed through to consumers who have to eat the cost. That's direct tax on Americans, making everything more expensive. Combined with Trump's federal spending that's running up deficits at unprecedented rates, economic picture is grim despite his claims. Reports indicate when Fed chairman contradicts president's economic narrative with hard data, it becomes much harder for Trump to maintain his lies work. But step back and consider what Trump's credibility crisis means as his regime faces multiple disasters. Because it's not just economy where he's being exposed. His cabinet is in chaos with Kristi Noem blaming Stephen Miller and Miller blaming Border Patrol. They're all leaking to media, pointing fingers at each other. Department of Homeland Security admitted they called Alex Prey domestic terrorist because it was chaotic situation, and that's what they thought they had to say. Sources suggest that's not how functional administration operates. That's regime falling apart as officials realize they're being scapegoated for Trump's failed policies. And there's Mike Johnson karma. Speaker hasn't condemned attack on Ilhan Omar, hasn't said anything about Alex Prey's murder, but he had time to hug Nicki Minaj and talk about her coat and nails. Reports indicate that reveals MAGA priorities. They don't care about violence against members of Congress or citizens being killed by federal agents. They care about celebrity photo ops and staying in Trump's good graces. Sources suggest that moral bankruptcy is becoming visible to voters who might have initially supported them. Think about Melania's documentary disaster. Jeff Bezos gave her $70 million for licensing and marketing, while Amazon cut 16,000 jobs. Pinterest laying off 15% of workforce, Kroger cutting employees, ASML cutting 1,700, but Melania rings opening bell at New York Stock Exchange promoting her vanity project. Reports indicate that image of oligarchy giving middle finger to struggling Americans might crystallize everything wrong with Trump's regime in single moment people can understand. And there's Mar-a-Lago depravity. While country reels from ICE killing Alex Prey, while immigrant communities live in terror, Mar-a-Lago hosted party with showgirls in outfits sipping champagne by pool with legs spread. Sources suggest that's not family values party Republicans claim to be. That's decadent oligarchy celebrating while people suffer. Reports indicate when voters see that contrast between their struggles and Trump's parties, it might break whatever remaining loyalty they felt. Share this with everyone because there's also Trump's attack on low-income housing. He's bashing idea of building affordable housing in wealthy areas burned down by fires, calling it un-American dream. Meanwhile, he signed fake executive order claiming federal takeover of Los Angeles disaster relief, but not actually providing $40 billion needed. Sources suggest that reveals his priorities. He'll attack poor people needing homes but won't deliver assistance to disaster victims. That cruelty combined with incompetence might be politically fatal. But let's talk about other instant karma Trump is experiencing because sources suggest Iowa fact check isn't isolated incident. Federal judge appointed by George W. Bush is blocking his golden ballroom construction at White House. Judge Leon asked where Trump sees authority to tear down East Wing and build something new. When Trump's lawyers compared it to Gerald Ford's swimming pool, Judge said, "You compare ripping down East Wing to swimming pool? Are you absolutely out of your mind?" Reports indicate Trump might be permanently enjoined from building vanity project he desperately wants. And there's economic yo-yo admission. Trump mocked Americans at Iowa diner bragging he can make economy do yo-yo if he wants. Said he could make dollar go up or down like yo-yo, that he could create greatest unemployment numbers by hiring 3 million federal employees. Sources suggest that reveals Trump views economy as personal plaything rather than system affecting millions of lives. When you brag about ability to manipulate people's economic security for political purposes, you're admitting you don't care about their welfare. Reports indicate that kind of honesty about malicious intent might hurt him more than typical lies because it confirms voters' worst suspicions. Think about cumulative effect. Woman fact-checks gas prices to his face. Fed chairman contradicts jobs claims. Federal judge might block ballroom. Cabinet pointing fingers at each other. Economic data showing consumer confidence cratered. Sources suggest Trump is experiencing karma where his lies and failures are catching up simultaneously. When you can't escape consequences at your own staged events because audience members call you out, your credibility is gone. And without credibility, even propaganda becomes ineffective because people stop believing anything you say. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because there's question of whether this continues. Sources suggest Trump's instinct when confronted with failure is doubling down on lies. But if every claim gets immediately fact-checked by people with direct knowledge, that strategy stops working. Reports indicate we might be entering a phase where Trump's dishonesty becomes such obvious pattern that even sympathetic audiences reject his claims. That would represent fundamental shift, making his remaining time in office politically impossible as nobody trusts anything he says about any topic. So here's what Trump's fact-checking reveals. Woman in Iowa crowd shouted, "Stop lying," when he claimed gas prices were $1.85 while actual prices were $2.63. Fed Chairman Powell released data showing job losses contradicting Trump's economic success narrative. Consumer confidence crashed to worst levels since 2012. Cabinet in chaos pointing fingers. Melania promoting $70 million documentary while companies lay off thousands. Mar-a-Lago hosting decadent parties while country suffers. Judge potentially blocking Golden Ballroom. Trump bragging about manipulating economy like yo-yo. Sources suggest this represents instant karma, where lies and failures are catching up in real time. When you can't promote affordability message without getting fact-checked by audience, your credibility is destroyed. Question is whether pattern continues making remaining time politically unsustainable. Stay tuned.